2021 was all about starting up the smallest cog. And in 2022, things have really kicked off in here. So today we're going to catch up with Neil, and he's going to take us around and tell us everything that's been going on in here this year. Neil, the workshop is looking nice and full. Would you be able to take us around all the cars in here and tell us a bit of a story of each?
Yeah, we can have a bit of a look.
Starting with this?
Well, that's an interesting car. That's an early 1972 BMW.
Okay.
Very rare car. Apparently it's a 3-litre SI. So it's injection, but they were early days. It's a very, very rare car.
Okay, and what's it in here for?
That's in for a bare metal respray.
Wow.
The job's evolved a bit more now because we've got the bonnet off, and in the engine bay it looks a bit tatty, so the chap that owns it, very nice man that owns the car, wants us to sort out the engine bay. But then he came in today, we've had a look, there's a problem with the clutch, so Anthony is sorting out, putting a new clutch in, he's already done the water pump. We're going to go through it mechanically, check it's okay, but if you look, you can see this car's had some really nasty sort of cheap understeel put on it, so...
Yeah, it's kind of flaking off.
Yeah, well, Ian, the chap that owns it, wants us to sort all that because it's such a good car. There's no really bad rust, there's a bit of surface rust, there's no holes in the chassis, in the floor, all looks good. And what would be ideal with this car would be to take all the back suspension off, get it powder coated, get everything as good as new, and then the top as good as the bottom. But the inside on this car was apparently sent over abroad somewhere, I don't know where, but the trim was all redone. So inside is like brand new. Okay. We just need to get the outside looking as good as the inside and get it mint. Out of all the cars that we've had into work on, I don't know why exactly, but that's the one that's drawing me the most. I want to get done.
You've also got some new kit in here. What's this back here, this box?
That bit of kit there is something we wanted for a long time. That's a Vapor Blaster.
Okay. Vapor Max.
Oh yeah, it's a proper piece of kit, that. The thing is, we're doing these cars, like the chap came in today talking about this, and this car's a lot of aluminium parts. You can see under there, the stumps aluminium, gearbox aluminium, all the rocker covers. Well, we're going to respray this car, bare metal it, make it absolutely mint, paint the engine bay. So what we're going to do is take all the aluminium pieces off this car, put them into that Vapor Blaster, and they'll come out factory fresh new. So when it goes back together, you open the bonnet and hey presto, it looks like brand new. But there's no other way of reproducing that finish. You know, if you paint something, you paint a piece of aluminium or never looks original. But if you use that thing, it takes all the dirt out the pores and it looks like you've just taken it off the production line and bolted it to the car. It makes an absolute fantastic difference to the restoration process.
Very cool. And then everyone will know this car by now. This is the smallest cog racing MGB. I bet this has been fun to work on.
You don't realise how small an MGB is until you're going to try and get in it.
Yes, and especially with a big bucket seat as well.
Well, it's, you know, even just from a working point of view, before we put the roll cage in, because we've changed the colour of the car, but we also stripped all the inside out, so the floor pans, the inner, the roof, everywhere, to bare metal more or less, and then primed and painted. We painted all the inside, that nice gunmetal metallic.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're painting cars, you want to get the best finish. It's all about applying that paint at the end and getting it really smooth and glossy, and you're always trying, seeking perfection and trying to get it looking factory or better than factory, which is very hard to do. But in all the years that you're working, you learn the hard way that the best way is to strip it right back. Because if you just rub something down and paint it, you're adding more material, it goes wobbly, you can never get it flat. That's why when you have a new car, they always look really nice and straight and the lines are all sharp. And that's the trick, is to get it looking new. But this has been quite a lot of work. It's quite a good shell in all fairness, but there's lots of little details where it's all the chrome mouldings on, we've had to take that off and weld all the holes up. You know, there's been lots of little things. The interior was an absolute nightmare. Somebody had undersealed all the floors inside, and it was, you know, stone chip and thinners and paint stripper and scrape all that off. And really, it's something you just glance at. You look in there, it's just a glance, but it's been an immense job, even though it looks pretty, it looks nice, and it's come out really how we wanted it to look, but it's still a lot of work.
Right, on to the next one. So in the smallest cog, it's not just Discovery Channel cars, it's also the DriveTribe stuff. So here is the DriveTribe Mondeo. It's thankfully running now. It's got a new engine in it, it's going, it's actually MOT'd, and it's now getting stripped down for paint. I cannot wait to have this back in my life. Over here, I don't actually recognise this. What is this?
This is the Alvis TA21.
Alvis, okay.
Which belongs to Michael Fenton. This is the car that we had in the end of Series 1, which was a restoration job. And when we had it, it was a similar sort of colour to that all over.
Yep.
But when we were talking to Michael Fenton, we were saying, well, look, the original colour of the car was like a salmony pink. And back in the day, it would have been something quite spectacular, but nowadays, it didn't really suit the car.
Okay.
So we went through a few brochures, looked at Alvis's, and back in the day, if you had an Alvis, the one to go for was the Charlesworth Speed 20, which was, they still make them on certain chassis, and they were really luxurious, long and sleek, but they were usually two-tone, they were black and silver. So we sort of took a gamble and said to Michael Fenton, well, look, why don't you change the colour of this car, do it silver on top, and metallic black on the bottom, but we totally restored it. You know, we took all the panels shot blasted. That has been an immense, and I mean an immense amount of work, because it was accident damage, the doors didn't fit. You've got a lot going on. You've actually got an ash frame with aluminium panels, steel panels, and the actual bulkhead is nailed to an ash frame. So it's a steel bulkhead.
Proper old school.
And it's proper old school, nailed onto the frame. And of course, it all moves and twists and it escalates. You start as one thing and it actually carries on and gets more and more and more. But the door on this car, when we had it in, you'd have to slam it, you know, you wouldn't, and it was overlapping, the gaps were all wrong on there. And this was the really tricky part with this hinge. That door gap was 2 or 3 times the size it is now. And so you'd think, well, you know, lift the door. But then in the end, it took me 2 or 3 days to actually work out where the problem was, because all the shims in the hinges, we'd done everything, I went through everything, it was driving me absolutely insane. So on this car, it's got great big brass hinges, sort of that deep, that thick, and I took the hinges off and measured them, and the actual hinge itself was bent. And I had to put it in the vice and take a leap of faith with a big hammer and go, I hope this doesn't break.
Give it a thump.
And I had to put it back on, and fair play, the door gap now is perfect. But the door now, before the door would fly open and it was just terrible, but now you've got that, it's proper sound, that's the way it should be.
How's the audio on that? Do that again, I'll get in close.
And that's, yeah, it's nice. And that's like this coach-built car, when you think it's all like nailed together in wood, and for the doors to shut that well takes a lot of work.
Well, I didn't know what this was beforehand, but I've got a lot of respect for it now after all that. This is a proper piece of kit now.
Yeah, it's a lovely car.
Okay, moving on to
now.
this.
This car belongs to a chap called Udara, come from Sri Lanka, was caught up in the Boxing Day tsunami. I was 2 miles away from the coast and was actually flood damaged by the sea coming in.
God.
Well, anyway, his dad bought this car when this Udara was a young lad. When he was about 6, his dad bought this car. And the story of it is, his dad bought it, he fell in love with it, the son, and he said, never sell that car. When I get older, I want to keep it. I want to have that car. So he's got photographs of himself, you know, being taken to school in it. But time goes on now. His dad passes the car down to him. He gets it restored in Sri Lanka, but he wasn't in the country. So he said, I want it put back as it was. You know, it's my memories, my car, my history. And they said, okay. So they left him to do the work, come back, and they painted the car totally the wrong colour. With Toyota, this was two-tone, which was a bit 70s, but this is a 1984 car. But it was two-tone, so it was like an orangey gold colour with a chocolate brown bottom half, metallic.
Is that the brown in here?
Wow, no.
Orange and bay brown?
No, if you look there, this gold colour there,
yes,
that is the wrong colour. That is not the body colour. I can show you what the body colour looks like in a second, but also they painted under the bonnet that colour. And this, on Japanese cars, they were never painted in the engine bays. They're always done in a primer. So this would have been like a basic primer colour under the bonnet, and then the outside of the car would have been body colour.
Right.
So Japanese cars were always like that. But they painted this metallic gold under here and totally destroyed it.
So they just found a gold and just went for it.
A gold. And when you see the difference in the gold, it's totally nothing like it. So he had the car restored. He went to pick it up, and it wasn't his car anymore. It wasn't. His memories are gone. The car's
You won't
not
have the same nostalgia, but it's not quite the same.
The nostalgia's gone. And we took the car, we said, well, could you do it for us? And we said, yeah, we can do it, we'll put it right. And that's the gold behind you. If you look at the gold on that roof,
yes,
that's the gold that they painted the car. Bear in mind, it's totally the wrong colour.
That's the wrong,
And the gold it should have been is on the tailgate.
Okay.
Because the tailgate, Adara actually found an original tailgate. So you imagine this now, that's the colour that the car he goes to pick up.
Yes.
And that is the colour it should be.
So it's like a more bronzy
It's a
gold.
really bronze, sort of orangey, coppery sort of gold colour. And that is like just gold. It's nothing, absolutely nothing like the original. The other thing is, this car was a Japanese domestic model that was imported to Sri Lanka. And there was some funny things with it, because there's a hole in the left-hand front wing. And on the tops of the wings, this car's got door mirrors on the doors, but there's holes in the top of the wings. And Adara seems to think this was a diplomatic car in Japan. And it had flags on it.
Flags. That's a very, very cool story.
So we've got that going on.
Then round here, we've got another, essentially, DriveTribe car. It's Richard's. You've all seen this before.
And of all the cars that are here, that's the one I'd like to take home.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely.
It's such a gangster car.
It's a proper gangster car. I can remember those when they were brand new. You can never afford one. I couldn't afford one now, but it's just lovely. It's British engineering at its best. It's just a lovely car. It doesn't matter about the age. It's quite an old car now, but you could get in that, drive it. And I have driven that car, and it's so comfortable, quiet. Was it Grace, Pace and Space, Jaguar?
Yeah.
And that's got it all. That has got all of that. And it's just a cool, lovely car.
There's something about the starter motor sound on these supercharged V8s that gets me going.
Yeah.
Just Jags of that era, you turn them on, my God, it gets me in there. Speaking of lovely cars, this silhouette is unmistakable.
Yeah.
What's happening with this 911?
This car came into us a few months ago. It was painted, it was silver, it was a bit scabby. You couldn't really see, obviously, under the paint. So the chap, we're talking to the chap, said, well, why don't we get the shell dipped, get it to bare metal, and then assess what needs doing to it. So the chap that owns the lounge said, okay, so we took it off, got it dipped, got it all stripped, amazing process, right down to bare metal, every bit of sealer, everything off it, and then you could really get to grips with it. You could see what the problems was.
Stuff like in here.
Yeah. He said, Andrew's made this panel here, cut this, so you can't buy that panel, so you have to make that. We've ordered a lot of panels, we were just waiting for the panels to come. But it's what you find with old cars, is sometimes you've got to deconstruct quite a bit to get to something else. So this rear quarter was complete. They've had to cut the rear quarter off to get to this panel. And then once all these panels are welded in, then you refit this. But then this will be a seamless job when it goes back on, because it's actually the original panel. So when it goes back on, we'll seam weld that, and you'll never know it's ever been off. But then it'll be solid, all the jacking points will be good, everything will be...
And what is it? Is it quite a valuable 911, or is it quite a standard one? What is this?
I think it's quite standard. I don't think it's anything of any... It's not an RS, it's not a turbo or anything. It's just the bloke loves the car. But what he wants to do with it, it's silver, but he wants to do it straight grey, inside and out. But he wants to keep it very minimal. So we're going to get the bodywork done, get the repairs done, all new panels, send it back, get it e-coated, so it'll be like a new car. When it comes back, finish the bodywork off, then he wants it straight grey, inside and out. But we're going to cut all those tags off, which hold the interior trim.
Yes.
We're going to paint that then, body colour, and he's going to have some nice little leather seats made. So you'll basically be able to see the inside of the car painted. So it'll almost be like, it won't have a roll cage. I don't think it's going to have a roll cage. It might have, but it'll be when you can open the door of an old Beetle or an old Porsche, where you can see the metalwork and you can see it's shiny and
quite raw.
Yeah, he wants to go back to that and make it look just really stunning but simple.
I like that. That sounds really good.
A lot of work, a lot of hours, but it'll be worth it in the end. You know, it's all about what he perceives to be his ultimate car. You know, a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. Oh no, you've got to put it back original. But he's got that vision for what he wants to see, and we can give him that vision. We can give him what he wants. It'll be a stunning car when it's done.
Neil, thank you for the tour. We'll almost certainly come back and do another one of these at some point next year, and who knows what's going to be in here, a whole fresh load of cars. Hopefully these cars will be gone and something else will be in there. So there'll always be lots to see. It's just that we need now to push on and get these cars moved. And well, our order book's quite full, so it's good. We're in a lot better position we were 12 months ago. Cool. So it's now the case of picking the right jobs, getting them in, getting them done, happy customers, paying the bill. Very exciting. Thank you, Neil. Yeah, you're welcome. Remember, guys, if you want to watch all this stuff that Neil has talked about in there. We've put a link in the description below where you can head to Discovery Plus and watch Richard Hammond's workshop. It's a cracking show, and as you've seen, there's so many cool cars in it. You'll be able to see everything that they've done to them. I really enjoy those chats with Neil. You can just tell how passionate he is, and it all shows that the smallest cog is working. So many TV cars in there, now multiple DriveTribe cars in there, and we're going to be filming here as much as possible next year as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DriveTribe.